Welcome to Miss Skinner's Maths. Now, today what we're going to have a look at is how to reflect shapes in a line. So what we're going to do is start off with an easier example, and then we're going to build from there to a couple of slightly harder ones, but I think you're going to manage fine with what I've got for you today. So if we look at the first type of question, now we've got a coordinate grid on here, and this is what we're going to be reflecting our shapes in. So I've got a shape, and I've got a line that I'd like you to reflect my shape in. So the question would be something like, reflect this shape in the line shown. So what we can do, we can have a look at our shape, and we can pick one point or one corner of our shape. And now I like to go for the one that's closest to the line, because I think that one's the easiest to have a look at. So that's the one that we're going to pick today, this one here. And we can see that this corner of the triangle is only one square on my coordinate grid away from my line of reflection. So I can look onto the other side of my line of reflection and locate the position that's also one square away from that side. And I know that the point that I highlighted on the original triangle is going to end up here once I've reflected it. So I can mark this point with a little dot, and I can recreate my triangle that has been reflected from there. And that is all there is to these simple reflections in straight lines. But they do get a little bit trickier. So if we have a look at this next type of question, what you might notice is that there is no line to reflect my shape in on this question. So the question would look something like this. They'd have reflect this shape in the y-axis. Now, that information there does tell you which line to reflect your shape in, because the y-axis is in fact a straight line. Now we should know this already, because we've got the x-axis going horizontally from the left to the right of your screen, and the y-axis going vertically from the bottom to the top. So this one here is the y-axis. Now you should already know that. So we know that the question says reflect this shape in the y-axis. So this can nicely become my line of reflection. And so now what we've got is a question really similar to the one that we started with in the last slide. And we can again look at this point here, which I like. It's 2 squares away from my line of reflection. So on the other side of the line of reflection, I go 2 squares, and I can recreate my shape on the other side. Now notice, what you might not have noticed with the triangle, that it's actually flipped over to its facing the other way. Okay, because it's like it's been reflected in a mirror. This line of reflection is like a nice mirror. So, on to another question. Okay, if we read this question, it says reflect this shape in the line x equals -1. So we haven't been asked to reflect this shape in an axis this time. We've been asked to reflect it in a line which has the equation x equals -1. Now, we should remember something to do with this from our algebra and our drawing straight line graphs. Okay, so we go along to our x-axis, which, as I just said in the last question, it's the one horizontal from left to right of your screen, and this one here. And we know that all the points on the line x equals -1 have an x coordinate of -1. So along that horizontal axis, every point on that line has the x coordinate, which is here, of -1. And all of those points are these here. So if you pick any of those right now, if you just pick one and you read me off the coordinates, you'll notice that all of them have -1 as that first coordinate. Okay, so this is the line x equals -1. We can draw it in solidly there, and that now becomes our line of reflection. So we're back to the simple question that we had right at the start, and we can again, I'm going to pick that bottom left corner of that nice shape, and that's 2 squares away from my line of reflection. So I go onto the other side, draw my little point, and I can resketch my reflected in my mirror shape on the other side. So that is the first stages of reflecting in a line. Now what I'm going to get you to do now, before next lesson, is a little bit of thinking on your own. So if we go across to the next slide, a bit of thinking time for you. So I've got a slightly trickier question here. And what I pose my question to you is, what is the equation of the line that I've shown in red as my line of reflection? And also, how would you reflect the shape in this line? So what I'd like you to do is pause the video in a moment and write down your ideas and see if you can complete the question. Now you might be able to reflect the shape in the line quite easily, but I'd like you to try and tell me exactly what you did to be able to do that. Okay, so write some things down and I need you to bring that with you to next lesson and any questions that you've got about anything on the whole video. And yeah, bring it to next lesson and I will look forward to seeing you then.